Another glorious day buried in snow. So this is some of the aftermath. Roads have been plowed and cleared to some extent, and so people are passing through. See, there's a plow, and it's another day in Jersey. I'm walking to Starbucks. I'm in a parking lot. See, I don't know if you see that. All that's black ice. The day after a snowstorm and even after a plow is dangerous for like 2 more days until that all melts away. Hopefully the temperatures get up high enough. Because I almost got out of the Jeep Renegade, slipped and bust my ass. Black ice, man. You gotta be very careful. At the Starbucks. Alright, so I'm at a Starbucks, and this is my view for drinking my morning coffee. Looking at piled up snow rather than palm trees and ocean. Good morning, guys. I wanted to make a video this morning as I'm sitting here, drinking my coffee. Thank God Starbucks was open on time this morning. They were open at 5:30 a.m. And even though we got hit with almost a foot of snow last night, I'm in a populated area, so all the snow plows and things have made their routes throughout the night, and the streets are pretty much clear for the most part, at least all the main streets. There is black ice. You have to be careful. I showed you that walking. But what I want to share in this video is, what is it like to live in a car in a snowstorm? This is my second winter living in a car, and I've been through a few snowstorms. I grew up in the New Jersey area throughout my life, and there has been, I've been through blizzards. What I can tell you is, the main thing that changes is inconvenience. That's how it affects you when you live in your car. The same way it would in your house, but there's a different inconvenience. Frigid Arctic temperatures is worse than snowstorms. Again, once it gets below in the single digits and below, which it did earlier this year for about a month in January, that's harder than dealing with snow. But specifically dealing with snow, the main thing you have to be mindful of is where you're going to park so that you don't get buried in by the snow plows, and that you're able to then freely move in the morning. So, throughout the course of the night, what you may have to do, depending on your individual circumstance, is move your car several times, get out and, clean your car off so that you don't wake up in the morning and you're buried alive. And the snow plows have plowed you in, your car is in a pile of snow and you can't get out. Now, I have four-wheel drive. I have a Jeep Renegade. That's what I live at. If it handles great in the snow, I have to admit. But that being said, when you're plowed in, there's not much you can do, even if you have, doesn't matter in one sense what type of vehicle you have. So parking and moving throughout the night so that you don't get buried in by the plows is very important. So that's an inconvenience to your sleep routine. That's an inconvenience to your relaxing night, something you have to be mindful of. Stores closing early. Like I said, for the most part, stores are all opened up on time today, this morning. But last night, everything closed around 5 p.m. Because the things got really, really bad really quick. So if you didn't have food in your car, or if you weren't prepared, it could have been a little bit inconvenienced. Now, I went to the supermarket last minute last night because I didn't really have much stockpiled. Again, you have to almost have the same mindset as if you were going camping in the middle of nowhere for a couple days. You just stock up on materials. So it's not like anything you can't do or anything you should be, spooky, spooky scare. But you should just, obviously prepare, plan, etc. But it's not that bad. I mean, it's inconvenience. It sucks. It's boring because there's not much you can do. You can't get out of your car. That's the major inconvenience. I mean, what are you going to do outside your car? You're not going to be able to walk. And when the bad weather is here, what I usually do is I go inside stores like Walmart and Lowe's, and I walk around just to keep active. Or obviously I would go to the gym. When you have, major snowstorms, those stores close. And so you're just going to be confined to your car, and you can't even get up once in a while to walk outside because it's, the conditions aren't there. So you just have to be mindful that, you're going to be in your car for a long period of time. There's not much you can do. And that's where some people, prefer something they can stand up in. They prefer a high top van. They prefer RV. For me, it's still not worth it because I'd rather take a couple days throughout the year that, you know, you have to deal with that inconvenience versus the lack of flexibility and immobility having a bigger vehicle or RV. But everyone's different. That's a personal opinion. I'm not dictating to that. And obviously, as you get older, and as I would get older, it's something I would consider differently. Right now, I'm middle-aged. I'm in relatively good health. So, you know, I can handle this, and this is what I like to do, living in a Jeep Renegade, not an RV, not a van. You know, so inconvenience, having food, you know, not getting, positioning your car throughout the night so you don't get plowed in, taking off the snow from your car every couple hours and running your defrosters and letting that snow, you know, melt away. That's very important. And being by, you know, roads that you know are going to be plowed out soon, because, you know, you don't want to be way off on side roads where it may take a few days and then it's going to struggle to get out. And then obviously if you didn't have four-wheel drive, that's a whole nother ball game. I saw a few people stuck last night because they didn't have four-wheel drive. So these are the different things, and that's why I love the Toyota Prius, but that's why I wouldn't even consider getting a Toyota Prius living up north. Because that thing, I don't care how many miles per gallon that thing gets in gas. I would have been fucking, excuse my language in the morning, I'm sorry. I would have been, earmuffs for the kids. I would have been plowed in a parking lot all night last night if I had a Toyota Prius. There's no way. So, you know, you need the height, you need the ground clearance, which Toyota Prius is very low, and, you know, you need that four-wheel drive traction so that, you know, you can, you know, get your way through some areas. Because even, like, the parking lots are clear, but to get into the parking lot, there's a mound when you turn off the street that the plows, because the plows just come down the main road and they push all that snow to the side. So then they get into side streets and they get into parking lots and you have to get over that mound sometimes. You have to be very mindful of that. And it's you know, it's the same mindset as if, you know, you lived in a house, but from the aspect of, you know, when I just had a house, you know, I owned a house for 15 years and I grew up in this area in a house. So when I, you know, lived in a house and there were snowstorms, you know, you're just confined to your house. But the difference is, you know, you're able to walk around a little bit, you know, you have a little bit more amenities, but it still sucks even when you're snowed in your house. So it's not like you get a huge win if you have a house in a snowstorm. It's not, because you know what you have to do then? Then you have to shovel. I saw a couple people doing that last night. You have to shovel, you know, you have to do this and that. It's, for me, it's still a win, in my opinion, for me, to live in a car, even in a snowstorm. Again, long term, if you could travel with the weather, that's ideal. And long term, if you can be in a mild climate, such as California or Florida for me. And, you know, that's the ideal thing, to live mobile. But it sucks if you live in a car or a house in a snowstorm. Inconveniences of not getting plowed in, inconveniences of having to start your car every couple hours to melt away the snow, and the inconveniences of, you know, you're not going to have all the stores at your availability to go in and out of because of things closing early and you know, things shutting down at a different time than they normally do. Because when you're a nomad and you live on the road, you know, the stores are like your cabinets in your kitchen, you know. Like, you know, the supermarket is your cabinet in your kitchen. You go there anytime based on their hour. Planet Fitness is your bathroom. It's your shower. So, you know, when Planet Fitness closes down early, you know, you have no shower, you have no bathroom. And so, you know, you just have to be mindful of those different things and plan a little bit accordingly as best you can. But it's just, you know, it's not a huge deal. So I'm just trying to give you some general basic essentials and some inconveniences that you have to deal with. But again, I'm telling you from living it for 2 years, the Arctic cold temperatures, when it gets in the single digits and below, that is harder than snowstorms. But they both present a little bit of different dynamics. You know, if you're from an area that it snowed when you were younger, I mean, you know what you have to do to deal with it. But it's just a different adaptation when you're in a car versus a house, because you have to be a little bit more conscious of the plows, a little bit more conscious of stores closing early, a little bit more conscious of, you know, having your car gassed up, and, you know, just those little things. And but not a big deal. You push forward, you get past it if it's something you want to do. If you want to do something, you push past a little bit of the inconvenience. If you don't want to do something, as soon as it gets a little bit inconvenient, you're out. And that's how I am with relationships. I don't want one. So as soon as they get a little bit like of a headache, and they all do, even great ones, I'm out. But for me, I'll deal with a little bit of issues living in a car. Why? Because I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. I love the simplicity. I love the mental freedom. Some people don't. Some people want, again, to snuggle up in the cold weather, be in their house, have a fireplace, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I wanted to make this video a little bit longer than I planned to do. Just some general insights as I share right off the top of my head and in a honest, sincere way. Hopefully that helps you, and it just gives you insight, just lets you know that somebody's doing it, and that's what I would have wanted to see a couple years ago when I started looking on YouTube for downsizing, which eventually led to people documenting them living in their car and living alternative, smaller, simpler style living lifestyles. All right, peace and love. Have a positive day. Fake smile if you have to, but stay encouraged until we get to the promised land of Boca Raton, Florida, where everyone is happy. Well, not everyone, but at least me.